Hi, I'm Lee, welcome to MCG Specs, and today we're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one, I'm not scared. It's Duskana, the Rage Mother. Duskana, the Rage Mother is a 5/5 legendary creature bear for 2 red, green and white, and reads, when Duskana, the Rage Mother enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control with base power and toughness 2/2. Whenever a creature you control with base power and toughness 2/2 attacks, it gets +3/+3 until end of turn. So building around Duskana poses some deck building problems for us, and they're all to do with sequencing. So we could have a field of 2/2s that want to be 5/5s waiting for Duskana to arrive, but whilst they're waiting for Duskana to arrive, they're still going to be flimsy 2/2s. The reverse, if we cast Duskana early and we're starting to build up a board of 2/2s to complement her, well, we'll probably end up with a dead bear before the 2/2s are assembled, because this is a 5 mana cost commander with no protection for itself. Of course, those 2/2s can be hate bears because rage and bear, which was obviously the design prompt for Duskana. So Grand Abolisher, Gadog Teague, Collector Oof, they're all hate bears that are 2/2s. And I've linked my go-to hate bears in the description. So these hate bears can slow down the field as we crawl towards our plan, which is still about 2/2s and an aggro strategy. And I'm just hearing that again, it's 2/2s and aggro strategy, which does not fill me with confidence. Sovereign Ocanek does that strategy better alongside anthems and pump spells, and is itself the colours of the majority of Stax pieces. So let's not build a theme with a bear that the Cat Noble does better. Kindred bears is an option, but a Eula does that better, and though there's a few green bears in Magic, there's no red bears other than Duskana, and only one white bear that puts counters on itself for 2 and a white. That's got to be great synergy somewhere, just not here. Like with my Judith, Arcane and Kindred Spirits build, this is another case of treating your commander as a 5 casting cost sorcery in the command zone. So, treat Duskana like she is not going to be there on the next turn. When you want that fistful of cards, cast her onto that board of 2/2s. When you're about to perform that alpha strike, Duskana comes from the command zone, everything gets +3/+3 when it attacks, game over. However, we've still got to assemble a team of 2/2s that have a inherent synergy together, and if we can find some sort of evasion as well, that would be just gravy. The bronze place strategy goes to Kindred Flyers. Time Duskana entering just before swinging in with an assembled board of 2/2 flying creatures to deal massive damage to the face. Red gives us Phoenixes with various return to the battlefield criteria that we are already meeting with an aggro strategy, such as dealing more than 3 damage or attacking with 3 or more creatures. There's 2/2s for 3 mana with ETB removal, like Cleaving Skyrider, Cloud Chasing Kestrel, a double striking Sky Spear Cavalry that turns 5 damage into 10, and a cycle of white voice creatures you can sub in if you face off against a particular colour a lot in your own meta. Anthems pump them up, green-white protection spells keep them safe, plus no one expects the Naya Flyers. Go, peck your opponent's eyes out. Silver place goes to excellent legendary 2/2 creature options. Baird, Argivian Recruiter, looks at increases to base power and toughness, the printed power and toughness on the card, and rewards us with a soldier token. Lagodus Greenleaf removes the option to chump block his soon-to-be 5/5 body, and that draws us a card upon combat damage. Tana the Bloodsower, soon-to-be trampling 5/5, creates us a saproling for each point of damage it deals, and we have Kiki-Jiki to copy any non-legendary support pieces, Sisei to tutor, we have Grenzo to goad and cast opponent's cards, lots of options for a fun all-legendary build. So that brings me to my gold place, and Joy is an odd one because Duskana is a pretty poor bear commander, but it turns out she's an amazing elf commander, and joy upon joys, there are 100 elves with power and toughness 2/2. And according to George in my playgroup, who is our resident elf expert, that sort of deck runs out of cards very quickly because of the low cost of elves and the ramp options that are available in their colours. If only there was a bear commander that we could cast that would refill our hand when we have a board of 2/2s. And that other problem we have with building with flimsy 2/2s, well, elves don't stay flimsy for long. The MVP of elves supporting elves is Galadrim Brigade with its +1/+1 elf anthem, and additional squad casting cost to make even more 2/2 bodies with their own +1/+1 anthems. There are 10 2/2 elf personal trainers in this build, and remember, base power and toughness is about what is printed on the card, regardless of anthems or a +3/+3 from Missouri. Duskana will see the 2/2 within and bestow her rage-filled blessing. And there are two routes to build this deck. One of them is all permanents except for one card, and we're going to talk about that because that's my particular choice of build. But I would be remiss not to talk about the instants and sorceries that we can use to protect our pointy-eared friends as they go to war. Duskana draws cards on ETB, not cast, so Cloud Shift, Ephemerate, Flicker of Fate can bounce Duskana to refill our hand, but also works with other ETB cards in the deck, including Primal Force Mage, resetting Galadrim Brigade, so we can recast and have more 2/2s, and Lanoir Visionary. Werefox Bodyguard, which is also an elf, can be bounced, returning another ETB creature to the battlefield to trigger, and then return itself maybe to exile an opponent's newly cast creature, or to continue the ETB cycle on our side of the board. In my all permanents build, we will achieve this with Teleportation Circle, Erratic Portal, the perfect taxing effect, everyone must leave 1 mana up or their creatures get bounced, and Conjurer's Closet. Green-white has all the instant speed protection you could ever need. Cards like Heroic Intervention, Flawless Maneuver, and Grand Crescendo. Your elves are covered. I'm using permanent cards like Arwen Mortal Queen, a 2/2 elf herself, and enchantments like Privileged Position and Asceticism. So why am I going all permanents? Well, you've watched this channel before. I like to do things a bit more differently. How would you like it if every single card from our deck was on the board at the same time? Enter Primal Surge, a 10 casting cost sorcery that lets us exile the top card of our library and put it into play if it's a permanent card, and then repeat the process. Note the may on the card. You can assemble the board state you want and then stop. Play everything and you die on your next draw. Cast Duskana at your peril. She will see a lot of 2/2s and draw cards for each of them. Maths is your friend here. With haste enablers like Crashing Drawbridge, Concordant Crossroads, and another 2/2 legend, Goro Goro, the team you assemble from Primal Surge can swing all at once. And the 24 2/2 elves we have now in play will swing with any bonuses their elven friends wish to bestow, such as Trample, Death Touch, or Forest Walk. And if Duskana is out on the field, they swing as 5/5s, which is clearly overkill, but by gum, you'll have one of those I dealt X amount of damage stories to tell. Of course, you'll want to protect this maneuver from counter spells and obscuring haze effects, so we lean on some Staxy 2/2s that isolate you from spells being cast in your turn. Grand Abolisher, Vexing Shusher, Dosan the Falling Leaf. I added a Sanctum Prelate, as you may know your playgroup well enough to choose the mana value of counter spells you know your opponents play. Choose 3 when their lands are tapped because you just know that fierce guardianship is on the way. There is a Beseiju who shelters all in the land base, and we have Kutzal, Malamet Explorer, who isn't a 2/2 but does the Grand Abolisher thing whilst vibing with the increases to base power and toughness within this deck. Paladin class does lots of things we want, makes it harder to cast spells on our turn, has a +1/+1 anthem, and turns one creature into a tall threat on a wide board. Maybe our Bear Mother can get the Voltron smackdown. Our 2/2 elf rampers include Rada, Heir to Kel, Notvi Mystic and Elvish Archdruid, among others. Virtue of Strength, an adventure card from Eldraine, gives us top-end mana generation with the basic lands in the deck, and Primal Surge will see the enchantment permanent part of this rather than the adventure spell, which means we can have access to the recursion spell Garnbrig Growth if we lose a key player. Other 2/2 creatures that have the option to go on an adventure include the Bramble Familiar and Woodland Acolyte. The Familiar is ramp and mill, and then the Acolyte can recur a milled or lost card. I've included a 2/2 team to recruit creatures. Fauna Shaman can tutor for Sovereign Okonek Smackdown, or for our 2/2 Kiki Jiki Mirror Breaker to copy an impactful non-legendary creature. Concave Guildmage creates more of those 2/2 creatures we hope will be in play when the Mother Bear arrives, and Gamekeeper replaces itself with a mystery guest from the top cards of our library. You can explore more removal and draw options in the deck list below, but the standouts include Chandra's Ignition for a one-sided board wipe, as our deck is all about making creatures bigger, Aura Shards because with a high volume of cheap creatures it's a machine gun, and Ensnaring Bridge. You'll be emptying your hand a lot, making you immune to attacks. Duskana is the 4th commander I have covered from Karlov Manor. If you're interested in other commanders such as Marvo, Judith, and Aurelia, the law above, you can check them out on the channel. There are deck lists and there are deck techs for you to enjoy. And if you've enjoyed this humble free content today, a like and subscribe would mean the world to me. I'm off to start editing the 3rd episode of MTG Spectacular, which is the gameplay series on MTG Spec. There are 2 episodes for you to check out. One is all 5 colour decks, and number 2 was our Halloween special. This one is our signature decks, and I'm playing my current favourite deck, Renard Ginger Sculptor. But until that video finds its way onto the channel, I have been Lee, and this has been MTG Specs.